Hello and welcome back to another game in our climb towards 2000 ELO series. Our opponent has played d4, so we will be playing f5, the Dutch defense. c3 is a bit of an unusual move here. I'm just going to develop very normally with knight f6. Okay. Play d6. Preparing e5. Okay, so I'm expecting my opponent to play e3 here, going for a London type setup. So let's play e6, bishop e7, castles, and we will probably situate the light squared bishop on b7. So I'm expecting e3 now. Okay, maybe not. Yeah, there we go. e3. Bishop will most likely come out to d3, because that's where London players are taught to put their pieces. Makes sense as a square. But c4 is a normal idea in the London versus the Dutch, to chip away here at black's control of d5, and notice how my opponent will have actually spent 2 tempi playing c4 should they decide to play it in future. So c3 is actually a bit unusual if you're playing a London system against the Dutch. You normally just want to go for c4 right away. There's no reason not to in most cases. So I'm thinking about the weakness of this pawn. That can be a bit frustrating. But let's castle, and it can be dealt with like this. Or like this, although moving my bishop back to c8's not ideal. Wow, okay, so my opponent just gives up a piece. Not entirely sure why. But I can just capture there, no problem. And I see no reason not to just develop another piece while attacking their bishop. Still at the below 1000 ELO range, you're just going to run into your opponent dropping a lot of pieces for no particular reason. I'm now eyeing up this weakness with my bishop. Okay, so they castle, but now it's a little bit cheap as an idea, as a tactic, but I'm just going to play queen d5, building this battery and threatening mate on g2. So unless my opponent somehow obstructs my vision of the g2 pawn, I will be checkmating them. Which they do. Okay, very good. Okay, so I think I'm now just going to play c5, hoping to bring this bishop into the game so that it can target this weak e3 pawn, which I would be able to take with check. Okay, now this could get quite interesting. I'm going to capture here, opening up lines. The f-file is going to start to open up, well, depending on how my opponent captures. Okay, they captured with the bishop. So I'm going to take back with my knight. If they jump in with their knight, fine. If they take with the pawn attacking my queen, which they do, then I think I want to move my queen over to g5 so that I can revitalize this threat should they advance this pawn, or even, perhaps, in some cases, should they advance this pawn and we trade everything off here, then this threat comes alive again on this square. Okay, so one thing I'm considering is actually just taking the knight with my rook. Because we're already up a piece, they can't capture back like this because of the pin on their king, so they would need to take with the rook. After which I could also take this pawn, so I'd be getting a knight and a pawn, and I would be attacking their rook, so gaining some initiative. for the price of a rook, and we're already up a piece. And also, unless the rook moves back here, then they'll be hanging mate again. So I think I'm actually just going to go ahead and do this. We're attacking the rook and threatening mate again. So if the rook comes back here, they've lost the game, for instance. So the rook should come here, really. It's probably not the best way to play, to offer up an exchange for my opponent, giving the... Oh, wow, okay, yeah. Okay, so let's just take the piece, and after the queen takes, because again, the pawn can't take because of this pin. Now I can swing the rook into play, controlling the f-file, and I'm likely to be able to get some attack against their king this way using... Excuse the traffic noise outside. Okay, so my rook on the f-file was hitting my opponent's queen, and they've come down here to try and collect my pawns. But... yeah. If I play bishop to d6 and they grab this pawn, then what I'm going to do is play... okay. Well, this is now lost a rook. The reason is, and this is somewhat linked to what I was planning anyway, is that I can check here. And so the king must move over. Can't move here, because the bishop covers this square, so the king's moving over. And now it's actually checkmate, because I take the rook, and that's check, and everything here is covered. And that was the plan. That was the plan. So in fact, yes, they didn't even have to take the pawn. They could have just moved their rook to f1 as they did. But that's a rather nasty trick that you want to keep your eye on. In positions like this, you think you're offering an exchange, but if there's a check that can be played, such as queen e3 check, here you only have two options. Either you interpose, bringing the rook forward, and then you're going to lose it anyway, because my queen would be held in place by my rook, or you're going to move over. In this instance, h2 is not available to you because it's covered by my bishop on d6, and so you have to go to h1. But now you are no longer protecting the rook with your king, and so what looked like it was maybe a proposed exchange has now become a lost piece, and in this particular context, checkmate. So yeah, that was a rather terrible blunder from my opponent there. I'm trying to think how they might have actually defended this, because the idea that I was hoping to demonstrate was very similar if they, just grabbed the pawn. Well, now I think this threatens checkmate here. There's no way for the king to escape along the f-file, so that would be forced checkmate in 2, or even checking here first, king moves over, same kind of thing. If here, this, and there's no way, the battery here with the queen and the bishop is just far too strong. Good luck with your climb to 2000 elo, or if you're following this particular phase very closely, then maybe I ought to wish you good luck with your climb to 1000 elo. Either way, there'll be more content coming very soon. Let me know in the comments what you play as black against d4, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Take care.